In studio alongside CBS NFL analyst Emory Hunt, I'm your host Joe Musso, here to dive in and dig our teeth into this final bite of Thanksgiving goodness. I'm all out of puns at this point. It looked like the Seattle Seahawks were all out of whatever they were bringing to the barn today as well. Dinged up, short week, quarterback in question, starting running back is down. I understand all of that. San Francisco is working through some attrition as well. What was the reason for Seattle's lack of pop early on and then this game getting out of hand late?
I felt like they used the second half game plan a little bit too late. They should have come in and ran the football like they wanted to, try to establish some semblance of a ground game. The attempts were more important, in my opinion, than the yardage total. And because they tried to go out there and just throw it out, you had a lot of quick 3-and-outs, you took some sacks, you had a turnover, and things just went out of hand for you in the first half. But then in the second half, closing out the second quarter, you saw them go up tempo. You saw them have some life offensively. Then come out in the second half and started to find some semblance of a run game, started to work the passing game a little bit more. They had a little bit more success in moving the football. But overall, the glaring issue for Seattle in both halves was the fact that this offensive line could not block up front on either side of offense, run game or in the passing game.
On the other side, it was business as usual for the 49ers despite the short layoff. You got Christian McCaffrey, becomes the new record holder for rushing touchdowns in a season for San Francisco. Brock Purdy, efficient outside of that pick six. What stood out to you about this performance? I mean, preparation is always sharp when we're talking about a Kyle Shanahan-led team, but the way that they imparted their game plan told you what?
It's hard to beat a team when you're facing them and they have elite playmakers everywhere. Literally, you're talking about the fullback position, you're talking about the tailback position, tight end, wide receiver. Quarterback was playing at an elite level in terms of how efficient he was with the football, sans the pick six. The offensive tackle, elite. You're talking about left tackle Trent Williams. So when you have all of these elite players up front, all these elite players on the skill position, it makes it tough for any defense. So that's why the motions and the shifts and the moves that you see pre-snap or during the play, you kind of have to respect it, because if Christian McCaffrey goes one way, you got to follow him. And then they swing back the other side with Deebo Samuel. Well, you have to follow him. And while you're doing all that, Brandon Ayuk is going right down the seam for a touchdown. So it's too many elite players. They're well coached. They are disciplined. They're smart football players on both sides of the ball. No wonder they're out there kicking butt and taking names each and every week.
Yeah, those are the things that usually shine through on these short weeks, is that level of preparation that San Francisco seems to always bring. Let's get to some of those elite players on the opposite side of the ball, because you lose one in Talanoa Hufanga. Thought that might be an issue in the backside. No such issue. Defensive backfield played out of their minds in this game. But up front, you add a big piece in the form of Chase Young. Season high 6 sacks here for San Francisco, and at times it was hard to figure out who we were going to assign them to. Everybody was meeting at the football. In terms of pass rush, where have you seen things ramp up since that addition of Chase Young?
When you have a lot, you get to showcase a lot. And so when you have those guys out there up front, you bring in a Chase Young. Now everyone can rotate in and be fresh. Cleveland Farrell had a good night tonight getting pressure, the former top 5 overall pick. So you're rotating guys, and we saw Randy Gregory have some success as well. We know about the guys on the interior, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead. They had success. So when you bring in a Chase Young, now you can't just slide protect to one side. You can't double team or get a chip on Bosa, because you're leaving an elite player one-on-one on the opposite side. When you have too many elite guys, just like on offense, it makes it a problem. And San Francisco is so well built and well constructed on both sides of the ball. And oh, by the way, they are smart football players. The collective football IQ for San Francisco defensively is why they're in and make a lot of plays. This is a very dangerous football team.
They seem to be streaky as well. You start out 5-0, you lose 3 games, you get a quick bye, and then you win 3 in a row. Where have the differences been? Because since that 3-game stretch where they didn't look themselves, 92-30, they've outscored their opponents. These two teams play again in 16 days. This is going to be a major player in the NFC playoff conversation. We will have that conversation here on HQ in just a bit. But in terms of where you've seen this team develop out of the bye, where are those places, and what does that tell you about the preparation, execution that has become the way in San Francisco?
You know, it's a lot of what coaches always tell you, hey, we can do what we want to do. We can do X, Y, and Z if we protect the football. Well, that's what they did. They protected the football coming out of that break. And when you're able to protect the football, you don't give away those possessions. And when you don't give away those possessions, when your offense is as efficient, within the run game, efficient within the passing game, you're going to find yourself scoring points, whether it's 3 or 7. But in this case, it's a lot of 7s that they're able to score because they don't give away possessions. And on defense, they're getting out there, they're getting after the quarterback, they're fresh. And so I feel like the biggest difference is as simply as put is they stop turning the ball over coming out of the break.
You know, it's a week-to-week analysis, and things change by it feels like the snap, but could we be on a collision course to again see Philadelphia and the 49ers? They look like the two most complete teams on the NFC side. Again, that conversation coming up in just a bit here on CBS Sports HQ. But for now, we say thank you, Emory, and we take a look at those numbers. CMC just getting started. 11 touchdowns on the ground this season, passing Frank Gore and others for the most in a single season in this vaunted franchise history.